Yeah. So thank you for tuning in, joining us today. We're super excited to have this session. Before we begin, just quickly to review our code of conduct, if you can quickly read it through. We are all here to learn, so please be respectful of other people's views, understandings of differences, and be kind and considerate in the way that you engage. So today is the third episode of Embrace ERG Skills, and in this episode, we will be covering what it means to be technical. The speakers for this episode are Tarun, Mahak, Melanie, Felicity. Our host speaker today is Haditha, and all of them are Microsoft employees, and they'll be running through what it means to be technical. So I'll hand that off to you now. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks, Rebecca. Well, hi, everyone. Just a brief intro to what Embrace ERG is all about. It's all about bringing more people that look like me and everyone on this call into tech organizations, and whether it's ethnic minorities or more women, or getting people more involved in the technical community. So that's exactly what we're going to be talking about today, is the different careers that are available within the technical field. We have four very different careers that we have on this call. So I'll let all of the speakers do introductions, and then we'll talk about their technical intensity, their technical journeys, and how they got to where they are now. So I'll start with Felicity, as she is first on my screen, and then we'll go from there. Felicity, could I please just have a brief intro, and also your educational background as well, like if you done a degree, or like just so that we can highlight that there's a lot of different degrees that have been done in the tech field, or not degrees or apprenticeships or anything really. Yeah.
Okay. So hi everyone, it's good to meet you. So I'm Felicity. So my role is cloud solution architect. So what I do is I help customers who are moving to the Azure, to moving their data platform to Azure, or they may have their platform already on Azure and they want to extend out their platform. So my focus is data and AI. So the CSA role is one that is quite technical. So it's a technical sales role. And yeah, you could different CSAs focus on different areas. So for example, you have other CSAs who might focus on SAP infrastructure or app innovation. So in terms of my educational background, so my degree was in economics, statistics, and business studies, which is quite different. I then thought I would go on and do a PhD in economics, actually, but I stopped after getting my master's. And then eventually I made a switch into IT. I did some courses at the Open University, and I subsequently did graduate diploma in systems analysis, where I learned some programming. I did .NET and Java, and then moved into IT roles. So that's my background.
Perfect. Let's go on to Melanie. I'll come on to you next.
Thank you. So yeah, my current role is customer success manager for Modern Work, which means I'm trying to help my customers to find solutions within Microsoft Teams. That's our core focus at the moment and for this year. But this could be changing. So whenever we see need that we need to advise the customer a little bit about our solutions in the Modern Work area, I will be there and I get new information of what I can do for the customer and what programs are driven and so on. From my background, it's my second role at Microsoft. I've been a customer engineer before, which is a much more technical role. I've done technical workshops and all that. And before that, I've been a software developer and started as software developer for .NET. And before that, I graduated as a fashion designer.
Wow, fashion designer. That's super cool. And Tarun, I'll come on to you next.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me, and happy to be here. I don't really know how to top that up. That was a pretty good little career path. So in terms of what I do at Microsoft, I'm a associate, or now a technical infrastructure consultant. And what does that mean? I love to give this analogy. So if you think about a city, it needs gas, electricity, water, people to essentially function. So if you think about a city, what we do at Microsoft, specifically in Azure Cloud, I create a city with those kind of in detail would be compliance, security, identity, networking, laying that foundation for people with data skills or AI skills or app skills to develop on top of that city to streamline our customers' businesses. Happy to delve in deep on how I do that later on. But in terms of my educational background, I did computer science at University of Nottingham, did the actual sandwich year with Hasita, so we're in the same year, kind of as a placement, but I was doing a business operations role back then, so a resource manager role, not per se technical, and that only goes to show that how Microsoft very open what you enjoy and your passions are at that moment in time and what you want to explore. And then luckily now that I've converted from an intern role as a graduate 18 months into my my associate consultant role.
Yeah, and Tarun is also TikTok famous, so that you can add that to his accolades. So he has a very famous TikTok going around at the moment about what he does at Microsoft, but we'll move on to Mehak before, maybe I'll put in a link there.
I don't think I can beat fashion designer and TikTok famous. But my name is Mehak, what the heck Mehak, and I am currently a program manager / they're changing our names to technical product manager, based out of the US in Seattle, Washington. I'm currently a product manager in Azure Core. So we manage all of anytime you spin up a VM in the Azure portal, that's my team. We're creating it, deleting it. Probably if there's a lag, it's our fault. Probably not our fault, but we'll see. And I actually switched into this role about 5 or 6 months ago. I think I probably started in the same batch as Tarun and Hashita as part of the Aspire class. I started off as a consultant in the apps domain. So I got to do that for about a year and a half, and then switched over. My background also super basic. I started off as a computer engineer and did not like hardware, so switched into software, and then did a majoring in computer science. I am not TikTok famous, but I feel like I need to contact you to learn how to become TikTok famous. But I currently don't even have the app installed, so I feel like that would be the first step.
Yeah, no, I think we all have to learn that from Tarun. But anyways, moving on, I think the next question that I wanted to ask you guys, just to get us all started with the conversation, is what a typical workday looks like for you. I know that there's 4 different roles on here. I'm also a cloud solution architect, so I can pitch in with Felicity's words, but I guess to break it up a little, Melanie, I'll start off with you. How does your typical day of work look like?
So I would say it's a lot of communication in all kinds. So it's a lot of emails, a lot of chats, and preparing meetings and post-work of meetings. And probably that's the same for all of us. I don't know. So yeah, my customer engineer role was exactly the same. Just the kind of meeting was different.
Yeah, perfect. I think we definitely all have those emails, meetings, pretty much day-to-day, recurrence. And I'll come on to you, Felicity, because I believe that the CSA role is quite similar, although, we do have that technical bits here and there, but we do a lot of orchestration as well. So I'll come on to you, Felicity. How does a typical day look for you? You are on mute. The things with virtual meetings.
So yeah, as Melanie said, I spend a lot of my day in meetings as well. So in my role, I'm actually aligned to 2 of our largest retail customers, so they're strategic customers. So I have meetings or calls with various teams, and we could be working with them on proof of concepts. They might be coming with an idea for a new project, or they could be in the process of delivering, but there's some technical blockers, and then they need some help with those. So some of the other meetings and sort of reaching out on teams would be to other Microsoft teams. We might reach out to product teams, engineering, to the global black belts who are like subject matter experts in particular technologies. We could be researching questions on docs or other sources. Also organizing training workshops, writing customer stories and posts to share our learnings from projects internally. And some of my time would be spent on learning as well. There isn't always that much time to do it during the working day itself. Sometimes we have internal training, but a lot of my learning will be spent, well, I'll do it in the evenings or on weekends.
Yeah, and I think just to pick up on that as well, as a CSA, we do a lot of teaching, just like Felicity said. Our whole day is just about teaching our customers and just being one step ahead of them. I think there's a joke going around in the CSA that you just need to know one piece of documentation more than what your customer knows so that you can help them along their journeys. So we work on the Azure platform, and our job is to stay connected to the platform and make sure we understand where it's going, what's on the roadmap, what's working for our customers, what doesn't work, sometimes industry trends as well, understanding sustainability, all of that comes into an architect role as well. So Tarun, as a consultant, what are you up to these days?
Yeah, it's quite similar to CSA, but in terms of, I think CSA sits in the both pre and post sales of the customer journey that we take our customers in. Consultancies for the delivery of our, let's say, like the Azure cloud. So once the kind of deal is signed with Microsoft and the customer, we come in with a specific scope and a statement of work to then know how to deliver that for our customer. And how we deliver that is through the sort of Agile Scrum methodologies that you may know through your education. So again, we have a great growth mindset here that you don't have to know these things, but prior, and you can learn on job. So my day-to-day is going from the Scrum methodology typical meetings, so that'll be a daily stand-up in the mornings, to then at the end of a sprint, so it can go from 1 week, 2 weeks, or 3 weeks, depending on the customer engagement, to sort of find out how well did that sprint get delivered, did we hit all our deliverables, and the kind of things we could be doing is designing an architecture from actually helping the customer implement it to what I sort of do my expertise in is the infrastructure as code, so deploying what Mehek said, a lot of VMs, being able to redeploy that constantly to the Azure cloud, and how to do that repeatable for our customers. So it can be quite a various few things, and no day looks the same, but I think Asita is absolutely correct there as well, that you just got to be one step ahead of the customer, and that's how you kind of win at that job.
And Mehek, definitely not the least, last but not the least. So I'll pass on to you. How does your day look like?
Yeah, I feel like as a PM, you're sort of the intersection between like the business components and the engineering components. So most of my day is translating what the business people want and translating it to engineers and being like, okay, we want these 3 features by this date. Can you do it? And then when they tell us what they can do or can't do, we escalate it back to, people like Scott Guthrie, and we're like, yeah, this is what they said. So a lot of it is like being that like technical translator, and understanding, okay, these are what the engineers are saying. This is the experience that they're having. How can we make their experience better so that our customer experiences are better? So lots of meetings, constantly trying to understand like the big picture. I think as a PM, we're always worried. We're not too worried about the tiny details. We're like, how can we make this product better? How can we improve latency? How can we improve performance? And it doesn't really matter how we get there. We're just in charge of like the title of the book. Whoever fills it in, it's like multiple engineers filling it in, multiple business people. But I think of us as like the authors of the book, and we're trying to piece all those pages together. So lots of meetings, trying to understand technical documentation, and writing technical documentation to make sure that other people can also understand things going on. So I think of us as sort of the bridge between those two sides of the coin.
Yeah, perfect. And I think most of our roles either act as a bridge between customer and business owners within the company, or just internal stakeholders as well, which is where my next question is going to come in, is I think we have 3 people that work with customers on here, right? So Melanie, Felicity, and Tarun, I think you primarily work with clients. I think Mehek, you're more internal facing. So I wanted to ask the customer facing guys, who do you normally talk to from a technical perspective on the customer end? And what is your experience with customers? You know, the difficulties that you face on a day-to-day kind of, day-to-day basis. And Mehek, I'll come on to the internal stakeholders with you as well. So Felicity, I'll pass on to you first, because you do deal with some retail customers. They have their priorities. So I also deal with retail customers. So I'll pass on to you.
Okay. So in terms of the stakeholders I speak to regularly, they would tend to be people like the product owners or product managers. For me, particularly on the data platform side, because that's the area I'm involved in. Some of the architects as well, either data platform architects or enterprise architects. It could also be with some of the engineers. I think particularly if it's for a proof of concept, for example, then we could be working quite closely with the engineers, helping them with the proof of concept. With some of the other customers I've worked with, we've also been in contact with some of the business stakeholders. I think it tends to depend on the size of the customer. So generally, I found with the much larger customers, we tend to be speaking a lot with IT and the product owners and architects, whereas in some of the smaller customers, we could be speaking to the business people like the CDO or the chief marketing officer or the chief operating officer as well, to kind of understand what their vision is.
Yeah, perfect. Tarun, Melanie, anything that you guys wanted to add there? I'm happy with whoever wants to go first. Melanie, you're off mute, so I'll come on to you.
Okay. Yeah, I was thinking about this question. So I think maybe that's a little bit different for me, because maybe one difference to the customer success manager role is that I actively have to search for my contacts at the customer, because I don't have really a real space where I belong to. So it's modern work. So that means like the whole company. And sometimes it's business decision makers. Sometimes it could be someone from HR. So whenever I feel like someone's asking a question or needs help, I will be there and identify the needs and help within my area or direct it to someone else. So we have roles like this that are similar, but I think my one at the moment is the only one that really needs to actively search and look out for the contacts.
Tarun, anything else that you want to add? Anyone else that you get in touch with?
I think it's similar to the CSA role and probably Melanie as well. It's a combination of speaking to the C-level execs and being able to know how to talk business and the business value to them, why the technology we're implementing that day, to then working with the engineers all the way down. Could be even the managers to explain it to business value, and then the engineers or the sort of architects on the customer side, and then helping them translate those technical requirements and how to actually do it in the cloud. But it ranges day by day and industries as well. So I don't have a specific industry working with too.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. So Mehek, coming on to you, because I know that as a program manager, you still need to have an idea of what our clients want, what our customers want. But I do think that you work more internal facing, from my understanding of what you said as well. So what I wanted to ask you is, who do you actually work with, like, internally? Is it the account executives, or who is it that you work on a day-to-day basis with?
Yeah, so mainly engineers and other program managers or product managers. So most of our day-to-day interactions is like if I own like the VM create process, I'll be talking to like the VM delete engineers or the storage engineers or the networking engineers or other PMs who own different programs. So it's kind of different from the consulting space, which I was in before, where like you're only talking to like customer engineer or like the customer's engineers or like your own executives or account executives. It's more internal customers, internal engineers, internal PMs. I will say on my team though, we do have people who own like some of the accounts. So like Cruise, which is like a huge, I think, automation company, automobile company. We have like PMs that are on like a Cruise account, or we have PMs on a Walmart account. So it's kind of cool, a cool space to be in, that you could be only working with internal customers and internal teams, but you do have the opportunity to work with customers as well, but still be in that PM or engineering space. So I will say I used to think that customers were difficult, and then I met internal customers, and sometimes they are more difficult than you could think customers are, which is ironic because you're like, hey, you're a coworker, but sometimes they're just as difficult as the customers. So
yeah, customers can definitely be challenging, which is where I wanted to take the conversation, to be honest, because there's a lot of transferable skills that we pick up in these jobs. You know, we always believe that to be technical, I knew that before I wanted to be an accountant, and I thought if I even consider technical aspects, it's going to involve me coding every day, and that's the only technical thing that you could do. I was very naive. But I wanted to ask, you know, how much do you guys code in your jobs? Or like, I wanted to understand the level of coding that you do, what you do to learn and skill up, etc. So if you don't do coding, I think, Tarun, you definitely do in your job. So I will come on to you. Felicity and I were very like, you know, if we have to, we will, but it's not a strong suit. I think Felicity, not, you know, meaning to speak for you. So I'll come on to Melanie. I don't think you have to code in your job, right?
Well, as I've been a software developer, you know Teams and the extension in Teams, and that you can add applications to it. And sometimes I'm at the customer and I want to tell them, hey, look how great Teams is and what you can do with it. And the customer says like, well, but that's not a real challenge. I have this challenge and I need a solution for that. Say, I will show you how it works in Teams. So let me quickly do something. So it could happen that I probably sometimes set up a quick application because I just want to prove the concept.
Yeah. And I think, Felicity, that's the same for us, right? Because we don't do production level code. We only, you know, ever have to do proof of concept. And we bring in lots of resources for that as well. What do you think?
Yeah, that's true. I think some of the CSAs who are more in the data science area, they probably do a bit more coding in Python, and I think that's one of the languages that's actually really useful to know regardless of your role. And it's one that I keep trying to pick up. I think I say I keep trying to pick up because there are so few opportunities to use it day to day that it's hard to remember it.
Yeah. Tarun, as a consultant, I believe that your day-to-day role is just production level code, right?
Yeah, we definitely do that as part of the delivery, and it really depends what type of consultant you want to be as well. So there's various, I think, so I'm in Azure cloud and AI sort of business area, and that's quite technical, and probably the most technical area you could have in MCS or industry solutions as we are today. But in terms of, you could be doing sort of adoption change management, or ITSM. So these kind of different understanding the IT processes, or helping the customer realize the approach of what the value of the technology is from a mindset point of view. So there are different paths you could take as a consultant per se, but personally, yes, I do code. To answer your question, in terms of like, I've done the business operation role, and I think there's loads of flexibility in how much you want to code outside your role as well. With, like Melanie said, if you want to go out and show for your customers in the stretch project, absolutely is great value. And then in terms to answer your questions of where I learn and stuff in the educational point, luckily Microsoft do provide a whole load of resources, from Microsoft.learn to Pluralsight to just generally the actual streams that we have as support from the experts they're in. So I think we're really supported, and then we can just do the certificate, the Microsoft certified ones for free, luckily, and we get an X number of times to try it as well. So really well supported as a company for employee.
Yeah. And Mehak, you said you work with engineers, which is a super interesting role. So I don't know if that entails you to be pretty development focused, or is it just you work with them who are development focused?
Yeah, it's kind of like what Tarun said. It sort of depends on the type of PM you are. Because I'm a more technical PM, like I'm still like knee deep in like ARM templates, like Kusto queries, SQL queries. So like not like hardcore writing APIs, but I'm still up templating and like writing queries. So I think it kind of depends on the PM that you are. I have noticed people in Azure and Azure Core tend to be like, even the PMs tend to have come from a technical background or have been a developer in the past. So they're still pretty technical, so they enjoy it. But I will say, like, I have a few friends that are PMs in like Outlook and Teams, and they're more like documentation focused and facilitation focused. So they're not like coding day to day. So I think it kind of ultimately depends on like the technology that you're working with and like the type of PM that you are, because even like it's like the consultant title, super vague. Your experience could vary depending on your customer, your team. So it's like the same concept, but I specifically am still in like ARM templates and Kusto queries and things like that.
Perfect. Yeah, no, 100%, and that adds to the CSA role. As I said, just to be honest, I don't do that much coding. I think Felicity does a little bit more than me, but I am on a learning curve. But something I just wanted to point out here is that we're all coming from different backgrounds. So I did make the switch from business to technical. So it's taken me quite a while to put my head around all of the fundamental concepts. So I've just started getting into development and looking into that. So I will say that for these roles, there's always a learning curve when it comes to if you're interested in that aspect of it, which is where I wanted to take this, because there's always kind of a hesitancy when people come into tech that I need to be super technical from the get-go, which is not really, how it all starts for most people. And I do say most people because, as you can see from this call itself, we've all come from such different backgrounds. So I wanted to ask, like, the transferable skills that you've picked up from your careers that have helped you throughout the process of the career that you're in right now. So these don't have to be technical skills, but we all work with people and customers. So any skills that have helped you along this journey. So I will start with Melanie. I'll start with you about any transferable skills that you found beneficial for you.
Yeah, so I've heard the term growth mindset before. I think Tarun mentioned it, and I think that's the number one for IT. It's just because the world is moving so fast, and I don't know. It's like every day I've just need to learn something new, and I sometimes doubt a little bit if because I've never been to university or had an education at university, and but I know a lot of people who did, and I sometimes doubt a little bit today if that's really useful for this kind of job, because it's just so fastly moving all the time. And being okay with this or liking it, or probably getting your motivation about things moving fast and looking to the future and enjoying the vision and all that, I think that's a skill that does not necessarily have to do with IT. And I think that would call it the number one skill that's required.
Yeah. Felicity, what do you think?
So I think the skill that I've needed to use like through all my jobs, and I've previously been like a business analyst. In my last job, I managed a team. I think the most important thing for me is knowing how to bring the right people together to achieve a goal. I think in my Microsoft interview, actually, one of the managers said, actually, often the tech is the easy part, right? It's the people who are more difficult. And yeah, so one of the things I do actually enjoy is just working out, like in any particular situation, like who do we need to bring in to best achieve the outcome that we want.
Yeah, so kind of like that orchestration piece, right? Just getting that correct and making sure you have the right resources on hand.
Yeah,
100%.
Yeah, and I guess I would say that you do need some level of technical knowledge to be able to know who to bring in as well.
Yeah, and I think, credibility is hard-earned within the technical field because everyone around you is quite experienced, I would say, is the most, what politically correct way to put it is that they're very experienced, have a lot of years under their belt. So you know, credibility is hard earned, and having that technical knowledge really does help. But as I said, you don't have to start off with it. It takes time to build, right? So Tarun, coming on to you. What are the skills that you have learned in your 18 months and also 12 months in your placement?
Yeah, sure. I think Melanie and Felicity hit on some great points that I don't want to repeat. Growth mindset definitely being number one. It's something that you always need to remind yourself, because if you find yourself getting a bit more fixed, then you'll be lagging back and you need to get back on top. To answer that question personally, I think I'll stay away from the 18 months and maybe the 12 months as well, because I think a lot of us who may be watching this recording, I think being customer obsessed is number one too. So doing any like retail jobs as a sales assistant or in general, anything that tailors to be even at a till at a supermarket, knowing that you are going out for your customer and being the extra mile, learning and wanting to do right by your customer with that stakeholder management and then knowing how to go about it is really key. And that's something that I think Microsoft really looks for, to know that you know how to speak to a customer, but also know what to do in these kind of situations, especially when, it can get quite political. So that's what I would add.
Yeah. Mehek, I'll come on to you about the transferable skills. I think we're at the same mark, right? All three of us. So how's your journey been early in career and all?
Yeah. I think the biggest thing has been, and I'm sure all three of you guys can echo the sentiment as well, dealing with ambiguity. Because we're constantly thrust into situations where like we don't know the technology or we don't know the people or the resources. And I think learning to be okay with not knowing is like the biggest thing that I've known. Kind of what Felicity said, it's like someone once told me that like being a PM is not about being the smartest person in the room, it's bringing together the smartest people in the room. And I feel like that mindset has changed my mindset a little, if that makes sense. So like learning that it's okay to not know everything, and it's okay to not be the smartest person who doesn't know that technology that well. It's more like taking the steps to learn it and then like dealing with that ambiguity, because Azure today is different from Azure tomorrow and from Azure in a week, right? So it's just learning to deal with that ambiguity, learning who to go to for those like questions. Ultimately, I think it's like your network that helps. And by network, I mean just like the people around you, and who you can go to for questions. And I've dealt with this with customers too. It's like they ask you a question, you don't know the answer, you ask someone else that, and they give you the answer and you relay it back, right? So a lot of it is just knowing the right people and knowing who to go to for what. So I think main thing I've learned is probably dealing with ambiguity and still learning it, but hopefully I'm getting a little better each day with that.
Yeah. Yeah, and adding on to that, it's like dealing with the ambiguity and also just being resilient towards it as well. Sometimes things go wrong in tech. They go wrong in every career. So this is not really a skill, but it's just coming into the acceptance and being resilient towards failure. I think, fail fast is, what we do in tech, right? So that applies to, everyone and people and emotional health as well, which is like failing fast and learning from your mistakes is something that you really pick up in tech. So Rupa actually posted a question, but before we go on to that, because we do have a few other people on the call, Matthew and Davin, if you have any questions, do put them in the chat. I am monitoring the chat as well. Let us know what you think. So Rupa asked, what's your favorite technology and why? So I will start with you, Mehek. Oh, how do you fail fast but safely? That's a really good question. Anyone want to take that? Okay, so I guess like I can start off and I will bring people in. I think Mehek, you went off mute, so I'll come on to you. For me, it's building a good network of people that are willing to have your back when you do fail. So failing fast is all great. Like Felicity has always been in my support network. So whenever I do fail, I do tend to go to her and moan about it. And then she makes me feel better about it. And then we try and find a solution together. So it's not a sprint. And people always say it's a marathon. And honestly, like, you can't do everything by yourself. You always need people around you. As Mehek said, you are never the smartest person in the room when it comes to tech, to be honest. There's always going to be someone that knows a little bit more than you. So leveraging that, building a network that supports you is a great way to fail fast but safely as well, because you have that safety net within your career as well as emotionally as well, I think. Mehek, did you want to add something to that?
Yeah, I totally agree with everything you said. I think for me, failing fast is a lot easier if you're transparent about the process to failing, if that makes sense. So I've noticed that it's a little harder to fail when you're constantly transparent with the engineers around you and the PMs around you and other people around you. If you're more transparent about what you're going through, they are quick to make sure that you don't fail, or quick to help you fail softly, if that makes sense. So not necessarily fail fast. So I think a lot of it is just being transparent. And I know that's a little harder with customers. So I'm speaking more from like this nuanced experience, but I do think like by being transparent with the people around you, it's a lot easier to fail. And I also think like fail isn't necessarily the right word, because I think a lot of it is just a mindset and like a learning experience. So like there are instances where I've done bad, but honestly, I don't feel that bad about it anymore. And I think that's like a growth thing, because it is what it is. Like, this is like, you just gotta like take each step as it goes. And you're not like, no one was born perfect. And no one is perfect, even despite all the perfect things they do. So I think it's just a mindset thing, and being okay with not being okay, and being comfortable with not like with being uncomfortable. I think it's just a mindset thing. I don't think anyone really fails fast. I think you can make that failure a softer landing, if that makes sense.
Yeah, 100%. Anyone wants to add to that? No? No, yeah, we're good to move on. So what is your favorite technology, guys? What do you like working on? I'll start with you, Felicity, because, you know, data is a super interesting space. So super relevant as well for the day-to-day life, especially today. So yeah, what's your favorite?
Can I actually pick two, because it's a bit difficult? So I like Power BI because it's a great visualization tool, right? And I actually use it a lot day to day, just you know, trying to drill down into when I'm looking at figures and so on. And just in previous roles, I know how important it is having those good reports and dashboards. It really transforms the business. I would say right now my favorite technology is Cosmos DB, and that's completely unexpected, because when I first started this job, I went into customer calls, they were talking about Cosmos. I didn't know anything about it. But right now I found this great learning path on Learn. There's a whole series on Learn TV. And kind of after 2 years of being in contact with it, I'm kind of in this unlikely place of saying, I'm really excited about it. And I'm actually going to try and examine it, right? Which literally never thought would happen. So yeah, so that's my favorite too. Sorry, not quite the answer.
Yeah, and I think, you know, MS Learn, as Tarun said and Felicity said, as well as LinkedIn Learning and all of those resources like Pluralsight, all of those resources have been my lifesavers. So yeah, I completely agree with Felicity. I most of the time don't know what the customer is talking about. As I said, I'm pretty early in career too. So there's a lot of searches that go behind the scenes when we read the documentation. So Tarun, what's your favorite technology?
Sure. I don't actually think it's changed since joining Microsoft, and I would probably say the same answer. So it's Microsoft HoloLens, and it's obviously different versions from it, but just knowing the world of augmented reality and the fact that we could have a world of just putting a little thing on top of your head, and knowing that you could have a whole digital world as part of your physical world. And I think that's really awesome. And then you got the things on top of that. We're talking about metaverse and the exciting sort of headliners that we have today. I think it's just in general, it's just great to see how Microsoft being innovative and the leader in this kind of tech. That's me.
There's some really cool videos on this, right? About what Microsoft is doing with Mesh. That is augmented reality, or I'm not 100% sure, but if anyone wants to check out Mesh, that's pretty cool with what Microsoft is doing. And Mehek, I'll come on to you. What's your favorite that you're working on? or like any favorite really.
I feel like, I don't know if it's my favorite, but it's something I'm knee deep in, so I think I have no choice, but I would say probably Azure virtual machines. And like I said, I don't know if it's my favorite, but I think the power of it, like once you actually start spinning up VMs, seeing like the different things you can do with it, it's a pretty, like, it's a cool concept to think about how like someone just like developed the cloud and they were like, yeah, just borrow a machine if you want it. Like the concept behind it is super powerful, and I think now we're used to it, but like if you sit back and look at it, you're like, whoa, like I can just go up into it, click a few buttons, and then borrow a machine and spin up services and apps. Like it sounds basic, but it's not basic, right? And then this is a very basic answer, but I do love OneNote. I think OneNote has saved my life. I don't think that's a technology. I think that's an app, but it's fine. It's another favorite Microsoft product of mine.
What about you, Melanie?
Yeah, I'm going with a pretty new one. So it's a service called Microsoft Loop, and it has a background because before I joined Microsoft, I actually was thinking about doing a startup, and the idea for the startup was exactly what Microsoft Loop does now. So having like small little pieces of information that could live everywhere. And I just feel like the idea behind it is so disruptive, because until nowadays, we were thinking about documents and folders like we have in the physical world. You know, we have a folder and the folder has documents, and Microsoft Loop now tries to completely virtualize the idea of where information is hosted. And I feel that's so fascinating. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to this in the future.
That sounds pretty cool. I need to check that out. That sounds very cool. So I guess like to round off this conversation, I really wanted to ask you guys, because a few people always want to change careers into tech. Tech is becoming a very like hotspot place for people to swap careers. But we also have graduates that are coming in that are applying for technical roles and stuff like that. So something that I wanted to ask you is if you could go back in time and give yourself some advice when you were first starting off in tech, what would it be when you were applying for the jobs? Because it's you know, it's a difficult, it's quite competitive, it's a difficult space to get into. So what would you tell yourself to make yourself stand out and like to not stress or whatever it is? I'll pass on to Tarun because he's pondering. So I'll let you start, Tarun.
No, I'm definitely thinking there. Was hoping maybe someone else would be first, but I think I got the answer. So I think the whole message of this whole episode of our kind of panel is you want to say that you don't have to be technical or have that technical background to get into Microsoft. And I did have that perception as well. And maybe it's because of my degree, maybe first few answers from Bing or Google that kind of says you're going to go through a software engineer / developer world. Realistically, there's a whole new different set of roles that you could do, and probably another set of roles in the next 5 years that we don't know that Microsoft will create the next few leaders. So definitely that perception. Other ones is just starting. I think a lot of us are scared to just start, and to whatever you find your passion in. I think Felicity, like Power BI stuff that you're learning, goes to only show that once you start, you only find your real passion, and it's as difficult as that. But I think those are the two for me.
What about you, Felicity?
Yeah, I'd say if I were talking to my sort of 18-year-old self, I would say to really believe that I can learn anything that I put my mind to. And I think at that age, that's not what I believed at all. In fact, I didn't do computer science because I thought, oh, it's going to involve a lot of physics and I'm not good at that. But so I think just having worked through all these years now, I've realized, yeah, actually, if you really want to learn something, if you have your why, you will find your how.
That's really, I love that quote. I love that quote. That's great. Melanie, I'll come to you.
A fun fact about my interviews at Microsoft was that I've been a SharePoint consultant at this time, and the people I've been interviewed by really were trying hard to find a job role for me because there actually was none open that really fitted into my experience. But so I had 3 different interviews for 3 different job roles when I started. And in the end, they were unsure where do you fit in, but they were so super confident that I'm a good fit for the company. So it did not really matter if there's an open position or something. And feel that very interesting because I would have never thought that. And I thought, oh no, I'm not applying. I probably wait. I'd probably do a little bit more certificates and so on. But in the end, that's not what it really took. It's more, well, they saw the passion, I think, and the passion is never gets lost, and it did not until now. So, and that's what they see, and that's in the end what really counts.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that, and Mehek, I will come on to you next, but just wanted to iterate what Melanie said, because genuinely I didn't think I would get the architect role, and I don't know if Tarun remembers, but this is a conversation that I had with a lot of people, that should I just go for a business role that I'm more suited towards that instead of an architect role, because I don't have the backing, I don't have the technical knowledge. But I think something for me on what everyone has said is just like, be brave and just do it. You don't know what the outcome is going to be and what people are going to see in you. So I think with tech, just going for it and being bold is what I have learned works. So, just wanted to say that on top of what Tarun, Felicity, and Melanie have said. So Mehek, what would be something that you would tell yourself?
Yeah, I mean, I think you all have great advice, and I probably echo all of this advice to my past self. I think the big thing would be there's this quote, right? Like, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. And I think it's kind of echoing all of our sentiments that, like, if you don't try, like, you're definitely going to fail. Then you definitely failed, right? So I think it's mainly like taking all the shots that you want to take, that you can take, and really being confident in yourself, like Melanie said, that you can do it. You are at Microsoft for a reason, and you don't need to doubt that reason. You just kind of have to believe in yourself and know that you can ramp up to any technology, non-technology, business acumen. Like, you can really ramp up to it because you have that like personality and mindset that Microsoft wants, that'll make you successful. So you don't really need to worry about like I think it was Felicity that says like why, like you just need to worry about your why, and the how will happen. So I think just make sure you take all the shots that you want to take, because if you don't take it, you're definitely going to miss it, right?
Yeah. And that's something that everyone tells us, right? If you don't apply for a job, if you don't apply for that project, if you don't say, I want to do something, then no one knows you want to do it, and they won't give you a chance because no one knows that you want to do it. So yeah, 100% that applies to tech. Another thing that I would also say is attending events like this. I'm not biased. It's not just this event, but any technical events is a great way for people to understand what kind of roles are out there, because normally we just see the development, the account executives, but there's a whole range of roles, like Melanie said, that don't even exist, but like they'll fit you into what they and Tareen said this as well, they'll fit you into what they seem as right. So knowing about what's out there is amazing way to reach out to more people. Using resources like LinkedIn, all of that is a great way to get into tech, I think. Well, with that, I think we can give some time back, unless anyone on the call has some questions. Going once? No questions. Great. I think we've stunned everyone into silence, but that's okay, because it will be on YouTube and maybe we'll get some questions on that. But I want to say a huge thank you to all of the speakers. I know that in certain time zones it is after work, so we really appreciate you being here for this session. And I also wanted to say that please check out the YouTube channel, and I'll pass over to Rebecca as well. So please do share your thoughts on the YouTube channel and share it with everyone as well, so that we can get the wisdom of our 4 panelists out there. And that's me signing off. I'll stop speaking now and pass over to Rebecca. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you so much. This was fantastic. Really great discussions. Lots of good information that came out there. And as I dropped into the chat, it will be available on YouTube in about 24 to 72 hours. So anybody that wasn't able to tune in today, we did have a lot of registration, but everybody's got their days, and they also know that we do this on demand. So yeah, definitely check it out over there if you missed anything or want to revisit anything, for anyone that's tuning in today. Thank you all so much. And if you're not familiar with the Reactor program, last little plug, and you're interested in learning, it's community-based learning, lots of workshops focused on the tech aspect. We cover the gamut of, you know, topics, different DevOps and coding and AI and ML, and we keep everything real casual. So if you're interested in learning more on the tech side of things, check out the Reactor. All right, well, thank you all so much. At this time, I think we can wrap it up and get on with our day. Thank you all.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks
Take
so
care.
much, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.